So I want to go from one guest to another guest where I screwed up royally this morning.
No, you didn't.
I sent you the mail without sending you the link. I've done that before, unfortunately. And I'm like, where's the guest? And it's like, dude, where's the link? I was like, your link is below. Thank you for joining me. And that's it.
There's no link.
There's no link. I checked the thing. I was like, okay, it's 9:00. Jen is like, watch. What's going on? And I picked up the phone. I was like, God damn it. I didn't send her the link. Thank you for this, Jen. I appreciate it. I know it's early.
No, I feel bad that I'm. Look, it's like you're dumbing your show down from the last segment to this one. We're going from the Chinese guy to the white lady, so we're gonna see. We're gonna see how we go.
No, that is not the case. That is not the case. I bring my guests on to talk about various issues, and they're usually experts or very passionate about the very issues they're talking about. Carl is he teaches. Well, I don't know if he teaches the stuff, but he effectively teaches the channel and stuff about the region, the culture, the et cetera. And so if there's something happening, he's the guy you go to. Him, KJNO, those are the people you go to. It's like, okay, give me the lesson. Explain to me what is happening to me.
I learned something new. I learned that the Taiwanese parliament looks like the Springer show.
That is wild, right?
That was ridiculous.
That is wild. I mean, just so the audience, just in case the audience remember, it just got here. I was showing them the picture of where is it? Got all these links up. I was showing them the picture of the Taiwanese parliament where these guys were suiting up like they were in a hockey match.
Yes.
And then they get to the point, God damn it, I think I got rid of it, where they end up fighting, like literally grabbing the legislation
and running out the door.
And running out the door. And running out the door. It's like, it's that important. It's that important. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Right here.
This is crazy.
I've never seen anything like this short of, I've seen Turkey do this. And I've seen Japan do this once or twice, but it was for something that mattered in Japan. Like it was something, it was a big deal about militarism.
Whereas this was just anything.
I don't know what this is about, to be bluntly honest.
This does not look real.
It's real.
And he grabs it and he runs out the door with it. Like, I got it.
As if they can't print another copy. Like, that's the other part, right? Like, you don't have multiple copies. The only thing you're doing is printing them. That's outrageous. And to make this even worse, look at how this started. Look at what they're wearing.
Why are they dressed like this? What?
So they can do what the guy just did, I suppose.
This almost reminds me of like roller derby.
It feels that way, doesn't it? It feels that way.
They're just going to knock each other out. That's kind of crazy.
That's insane. That's insane. That is wild. And Carl was like, yeah, that's normal. What do you mean that's normal? It's like that's a normal part of their politics.
Well,
okay.
That's the nice U.S. influence in Taiwan right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I don't think, as I've made this argument before, I make this argument again. When you give countries blank checks, they use them.
Yeah.
So when Germany gives, well, and I know it's in question, but when Germany gives Austro-Hungarian Empire the blank check, what does Austro-Hungarian Empire do? They get rigid. We don't need to talk to you. We don't need to have a conversation. We don't need to make peace overtures because we have our big brother in the background that's willing to give us money, military equipment, and armaments. Like, it's that. And so when the U.S. says, hey, Taiwan, we're going to back you against China, what does Taiwan do? We don't need to negotiate. We don't need to talk. We don't need to do this stuff because America has our back. Ukraine, same thing. I mean, you can go around the world.
They're all fools. They're fools. Nobody should count on this country. Like, we will hang everyone out to dry.
Which is what Zelensky is finding out right now with all those protests. Trying to take his ass out of office.
And people like you and me would have saved him that trouble and told him in the very beginning that this was how this was going to go, because I'm pretty sure that's what those of us that know this were saying.
But they don't think that way, though. I mean, fascists don't think that way. Fascists think, if you think of the kill squads in South America, if you think of what Israel is doing, because it's just a colony of squatters that we are giving money and resources to commit a genocide. If you think of any of these people, they take the opportunity to say, we have thick necks, we have guns, we're willing to kill people. And the U.S. says, hey, you're the right person that we want to talk to. And they go and try to accomplish whatever they accomplish with the idea that the U.S. is like, good, we can use them as a battering ram for whatever we are trying to get rid of. Israel ain't going after Iran, same thing. We don't want Iran to exist. We haven't wanted Iran to exist for decades. This is our opportunity. And we're going to give our fascists, genocidal maniacs who have a hard on for this, who've been murdering kids, who think that because they've been murdering kids very efficiently, that they can now go after a real country. It's like, okay, good luck with that. Good luck with that.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Well, and we know the truth is that in terms of the IDF, these are cowards. These are cowards. These are people that they can only shoot at things when the other people aren't armed. They can only bomb things from above. Like, these are people that don't really get in it because they're cowards. They're very far removed.
They get taken out. I mean, all of these videos of Hamas, and I was pointing to this because I thought it was very weird. The number of casualties that Israel has been suffering has been going up on the battlefield. Now, this is not them, they're shooting dangerous babies. Well, when you get Hamas fighters that catches them in these kind of crossfires, they've been taking them out left and right, left and right. And so you're right. It's one thing to bomb somebody from above. It's another thing to shoot a dangerous, starving baby. It's something else when you're dealing with somebody who can actually fight back. And you're talking about a government with nukes that has air power, that gets billions of dollars from the United States, versus starving people in caves or in holes underground that comes out every so up to fight back. Like, it's astonishing. And by the way, one thing, I want to show you this too. I don't know if you've seen John McCain's wife.
I've heard about her. I've heard that she spoke out, which is, okay, and great, thank you.
Made the point that is being made here. Because for everything that happens, Israel always makes the excuse, but Hamas. It's like, hey, you guys are starving people. Yeah, but Hamas. Yep. Hey, you shot a baby that was walking, with her mama. Yeah, but Hamas. That baby might have been Hamas. How do we know? It's like everything is Hamas. Well, in this case, USAID analysis found no evidence that Hamas was stealing food, which was the argument that the Israeli government was making for the reason why people were being starved. Also, Israel had its own gangs inside that were stealing food, and they were fighting Hamas, almost like creating a civil war in Gaza itself, as they were stealing food in order to make the people starve. Like, this is so breathtaking that I have to be honest with you, I didn't think it was even possible to happen, and at all. I thought after the first genocide, the world kind of looking like rape, saying, hey, rape is a bad idea. Hey, murdering people in mass is a bad idea. Like, meaning there's certain things you just kind of agree upon as a world that we just don't do. Not so much. Not so much. No. I mean, are you shocked by this? Like, were you cynical enough before? Oh, Jesus Christ, Jen, I'm sorry. I jumped in without telling people who you were.
That's
Jen
okay.
Perelman is an attorney, activist, two-time grassroots congressional candidate. You're a host of Revolutionary Change now, not generational change. You have,
correct.
Yeah, you've gotten pissed off.
I got pissed off.
The change is like, this is not generational. This is a revolution. We need to burn this shit down. Transforming politics into service, or podcast hosts a wide variety of guests covering a range of political policy topics in a nonpartisan lens and committed to justice for the least of these. Thank you for joining me, Jen.
Thank you for inviting me on.
You're always welcome, by the way.
No.
You're always welcome on. I just know it's early, but you're always welcome.
It's always early.
Let's go into that. It is not always early. For me, it's what? It's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Did you think before this took place that this could happen? Meaning just outright not caring about the humanity of a particular group, meaning a disposable group, where the world just looks at it and says, hey, man, that sucks, but we can't do anything about it. Meaning even countries like China, Russia, they would complain, but they're not doing anything. In other words, you get the European countries that agree with what's happening. I don't give a shit what they say. They are allowing it and they're backing it. They agree because it's their colony in the Middle East that allows them to exert some level of control through their own political space. It's like their own aircraft carrier in the Middle East. But I gotta be honest with you, I wasn't cynical enough to think that this could happen.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I think that if we look back over even the past 20 years, we can see various different genocides that have happened. And the reality is, and I hate to say this, but there are things that have happened that I don't even know that happened because we don't hear about stuff that happened on other continents. There have been all sorts of things that have been going on in the rest of the global world as a result of American hegemony or colonization or whatever, that we use our proxies in different places to subjugate and oppress whoever we're trying to do so in that area. So, I mean, this has been going on continuously since the Holocaust. Like, it really has. I mean, I remember, I'm losing my Bosnia. I remember, like, there have been things that have come up, and we just sort of like, it's so far away. We don't really focus on it. And a lot of it was before social media. So we weren't as just watching it live streamed on our phones the way we are now with this. The fact that there's such impunity, and that it's, you can really see it in how Israel conducts itself. They know that they can do whatever the hell they want. They have zero F's to give about what the world thinks. They are extremely entitled. They are sure that despite the whole world thinks that they're wrong, they are sure that they're right. It's a level of hubris and entitlement that is unparalleled. And that's something that I've been saying about Israel for the longest time. And Israelis, and especially Israelis that come here and infest our country with their crap. The level of entitlement amongst Israelis is unprecedented. I've never met more entitled people in my entire existence. And the vast majority of them are that way. And that's what's upsetting, because we see some of these new videos coming out of Israel where you do see people protesting about the starvation of the children in Gaza, that the people in Jerusalem are marching and all this stuff. And I'd love to say, oh, look, there's hope for them after all. But the reality is, we know that Israelis, you're like 80+% of them are totally okay with the concept of ethnic cleansing in general. So like, these are people that are not capable of coexisting on the planet with the rest of us. And the only real difference between this and other genocides that have occurred since the Holocaust is that we're watching it. And yet they're still lying to our faces about it while we're watching it.
Yeah, agree. I call these people Nazis because that's how they act. I mean, there is a very minor difference in the way that they act and the way that they treat.
Nazis. I call them Zion Nazis.
Yeah, and I think it was Mearsheimer even came out and said they act like Nazis. So it's not just me. You look at what they do, how they talk, what they say, and how they implement their affairs. When they're literally shooting people who are starving and laughing and joking about it as they do it. One of the other guys said his commander told him, "Yeah, you can shoot. What's the issue? There's not going to be consequences." They raped the guy on camera. And the majority of the population, I think it was over 60%, said fair game.
Yeah.
Fair game. We should be allowed to do that. That is not a governmental issue at that point. That's a societal issue. And I don't know how you denazify a public like that. Like, I just don't. It's astonishing to me that it happened. I agree with you that horrible things have taken place. I mean, Sudan is one, as people tell me. The Congo is one, as people tell me. But this seems like a concentrated, directed effort to eliminate a group, and to do so, as you point out, before our very eyes. This is not taking place in the middle of Poland somewhere where there's no social media. This is taking place before our very eyes. We can see it. It's just astonishing to me. It blows me away.
We're all being subjected to this, and it's the PTSD that is going to come from this for the people that didn't even directly experience it is going to affect humanity forever. This is not something that's going to just go away. Like, we are so psychologically traumatized by what we've been watching with this. We're not meant to process that kind of stuff. Like, the human brain is really not capable of processing the stuff that we've been seeing. And there's no way that this is not going to leave a huge impact on us societally, as like, this is going to change the DNA of us. And I don't think people understand the gravity of the situation. And I'm talking for the people that are bystanders, that are, and I force myself every day to bear witness, because it's the least I can do. There's nothing else I can do with what's going on. So it's like, I bear witness, but I'm never forgiving this. I will never forgive that I am watching what I'm watching, and that I am being traumatized to the level I'm being traumatized. And I recognize that that's nothing in comparison to the people that are actually being traumatized.
My ex asked me, why do you watch this stuff? Because, it's like I watch people get killed every day.
Same.
And whether it's in Ukraine, whether it's in Syria, that's another one of imperialist expansion, whether it's or in Israel, Gaza. And, you see a baby's head cut off. That's pretty hardcore. And as you point out, it's like, as I pointed out to her, because I want to be pissed off. Like, I want to be angry about this, as you should be, as a human being. Like, it should do something to you. And the whole never again thing should have some level of relevance, not just as a political slogan, but in concrete reality, that this shit shouldn't happen as human beings. I mean, look at this. So this was a video that came out. I mean, there are millions of these, trigger warning.
Yeah.
But a guy sitting just on the beach. What was the guy doing that was so dangerous? Well, you had to put a bullet in him. Nothing. It was just the point that he was there, and just the point that he was Palestinian, and he was, other, in which case they could just take his life. And that takes place 100 times a day.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
That's mind-blowing. Do you think there will be consequences for this? And I want to move. Let me show one other video before I answer.
Okay, sure.
Ask the question. This is another one. This one comes out of Syria, because in the same way, these genocidal maniacs in Israel are doing this to people. You have Jelani's dogs who are out there, these filthy animals who are doing the exact same thing to the religious communities that are in Syria, or ethnic religious minority communities that are in Syria. Look at this. Trigger warning again. They ask him, are you Druze? And he says, I'm Syrian, brother. And they're like, that's not what we asked you. Effectively, dude, this kumbaya stuff where we're living together in Syria, where we're ethnic minorities and everything else and nobody cares, where the women are on the beach, and that's not where we are right now. Are you Druze? And when he says effectively yes, take his life. Now, they have been doing that all across Syria. And the point that I'm trying to make is, in the same way that the United States effectively backs Israel to the tune of like 80% of the murders that they're committing, the genocide that they're committing, the attacks on Lebanon, Syria, etc. We back that. We spent billions of dollars under Obama to overthrow the Syrian and Assad government. And people like me kept saying, if you get rid of Assad, that is going to take place. So the notion that, we don't have any hands on it, it's nonsense. The only reason that is happening right now is because the United States, Israel, Turkey, the Gulf regimes did everything in their power to create that situation. And we are profiting from them doing that.
Of course.
It's breathtaking, the shit that we do. Give me your take on this.
Well, look, I mean, we know that...
No, I'm sorry. The question was, do you think there'll be consequences for this?
Oh, do I think there'll be... You mean as far as what's happening in Israel? I think that
Yes.
there will be infinite consequences that we're all going to suffer, that we're already feeling, that are going to continue for the rest of my life. Like, we're going to see those consequences rippling throughout society. We're going to see, you now have a generation of Palestinians even worse off than they were before this, if that's at all possible. So now you've got thousands and thousands of amputee orphans that are, if they survive, to think that isn't going to somehow be something that we have to deal with down the road is just completely ignorant. But as far as any sort of legal ramifications for these people, I'm hopeful. I think that, unfortunately, a lot of them are too old to ever see accountability. Like Joe Biden will be dead. And so many of them will never really face accountability. But this will be their legacy. And I hope there is. I would like to see Netanyahu go the way of Mussolini, or the like. But, we're going to continue to wreak havoc. whether it's in Syria, Lebanon, Iran, any of those places that we perceive as interfering with our domination in West Asia. And that's really what it comes down to. We have to be in charge of everything and all the resources. And the more instability that we create, the better chance we have of getting what we want from the region. So that's what we do. We go around and destabilize everything so that we can go in with whoever our radical extremist terrorist group that we'll have in there for us to terrorize the people and therefore allow us to have control of the situation. That's the American way.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is. And there's this kind of weird, there's always this argument of whether or not there's a rogue government. Is Israel a rogue actor? Is it the dog chasing the car or the other way around? A dog tail wagging the dog or the dog wagging the tail? And as I point out to people, it's like, dude, you pay them. They can't exist without
Exactly.
you. Like, it's not this, this is an extension of American power. I think did you hear Carl, what Carl pointed out, that they were like, I think he said several million Americans, or like 700,000 Americans in Israel.
Yeah.
In fact, was squatting on somebody else's land. Like I remember when I was there, I went to one of the saunas, and the woman, she's speaking Hebrew, and then when she realizes I'm an American, just goes back to American. Oh, I'm from New York. And I'm like, oh, you're sitting here squatting on somebody else's territory. Like, what the hell? That is amazing to me. But that is like 1/8 of their population, give or take. It may be 1/8, 1/9. So you have a huge number of people who are effectively, they are squatting on somebody else's land.
They're all squatters. There's no such thing as Israeli. That's not a real thing. That's not a real people. That's like if somebody was born in Disney World, they don't say they're Disneyan. You're from the land. That's Florida. So there it's Palestine. You can you can name it and create whatever mythical, fictional land you want to create. But at the end of the day, that's Palestine. The Palestinians are the original people that are the stewards of that land. And all the white Euros don't belong there. And they will never belong there, no matter how long they keep standing there.
Well, they're trying to effectively remove them from that land.
Oh, yeah. And they very well might get away with it. They very well might get away with it for a while. This is one of those things that is not going to, it's not going to end the way they want it to end.
Why do you say that?
Because white people in general, and this is something that I've noticed, this is what I call the caucasity of everything, right? Like the caucasity. These people have no concept of what it feels like to be connected to something greater than themselves. They have no concept of that. And this is why the white people continue to fail when they keep going up against the people that do belong and know what it's like to belong to something greater than themselves. And that's the difference when you look at people like Palestinians or Yemen or any of these people that are part of their land, that are indigenous to their land and each other. And the way that they collaborate and the way that they view the world is from a very collective lens. And that is something that we will never be able to compete with, because our whole individualistic mindset is never going to sufficiently conquer the world. So when we sit there and we talk shit about Iran, they've been around for 3,200 years, thank you very much. And they'll be around long after where the little American experiment has come and gone. That is caucasity. Where do we get off telling another country what they can and cannot do in their own country when they've existed for centuries? Are you friggin' like caucasity? And it's the same thing when we're dealing with all these little micro Western Asian nations that we carved up and created that aren't even real for the most part. Most of that whole region is a fantasy because we decided to cut it up to sort of control the situation. After World War I, the people in that region were polled. Did you know that? They were polled. Right. Jews, Christians, and Muslims in the whole region, the Levant region. I mean, at the time, it wasn't broken up like it is now. And the majority of people, and these were tribal things, like these were different villages. The majority of people wanted to be part of what they would have called Greater Syria. The majority of people wanted to be Greater Syria. And so what they're trying to create with Greater Israel, should have been Greater Syria, because the Levant people that are all the similar people, that is their place. They're not meant to be broken up. They're not meant to be, some of you are Iraq, Saudi Arabia. We did that. We did that to control the entire region. We decided, okay, you belong to you because this guy will negotiate with us. We could put our little king in Jordan and he'll sell his own people out to us and we can control it this way. But no, it's this complete, we have no, white people in general, seriously, do not understand the concept globally of connection to the earth and connection to each other. And that is why, to me, ultimately, they're going to lose. So we'll be long gone, and the 3,200-year-old Persian civilization will continue to be just fine. Well, assuming that the earth doesn't implode from climate crisis, but just, we come along like we've been here for what, a blip? And we're walking around telling Iran and China and India and all these like great civilizations what they should be doing. Caucassity. And I honestly, I'm just so disgusted with it all the time that we ooze it.
No, you're right. I can't say you're wrong. It's the Western world came at a certain point where they were able to gain military superiority. But that's just military superiority. That doesn't make you better. And
might does not make right.
Right. Kind of. People go at me on this, but you are what you can defend. Like, it doesn't make you right. Agreed. Not in a flat fact sense of, math or something to that effect. It's just your ability to defend a particular area or kill a particular group.
Yep.
We came along during that period of time. We were able to effect, let's say, military dominance. Military dominance, though, it doesn't make you great, if that makes sense. It's just
it has no real longevity. I mean, this is what happened to like the Romans. This is no different. You can come along and do might makes right, and you can bully the people in the world for a period of time and get away with it because you have the most weapons, of course. And that's where we are right now. But what I believe we're seeing is this transition. And especially when you see things like BRICS or that Hague group that are meeting up, where the rest of the world is done with our nonsense. And what's going to ultimately end up happening is you will reach a point of diminishing marginal returns with power and weaponry. And what's going to happen is you'll reach where there's nowhere else to fight anymore unless you're going to start nuking everybody, in which case we're all going to die. So you reach a point where the weapons can only go so far. And when you have nothing to back it up, you don't educate your people, you don't keep your people healthy, your people are all over the place and distraught, you are going to fail as a civilization. And those other societies that might not have the military power, it's sort of like the tortoise and the hare. You know what I mean? It's like the hare might ultimately get there, but in what way? And when the tortoise does, they're going to be more stable. Like, I think the might makes right will only go so far. And we're at the end stage of American empire being able to bully their way through the world. And the world is coming up with alternatives. And we're not going to be able to compete with them at that level that's above the might makes right. Because
we're there. Oh, we're there. And I know what I was trying to say. I was trying to make this point of saying, the bully is not necessarily the most advanced, person. Like, just because you're powerful doesn't necessarily mean that it has anything to do with you as a human being. Like, there's no esoteric thing that is in you just because you have the capability of being able to kill and destroy. And somehow along the way, those things were mistaken or added together as if our capability of being able to take over territory, our capability to be able to dominate and create primacy around the globe says something about me as an individual human being, as if I am somehow better. I'm more ethical. I'm whatever, all of these ideas that get imbued into just because you have military strength, which goes to your point of, hey, we can tell you what to do now because, we're Western and fantastic. It's like, no, dude, you just have military strength. It's not the same thing as being fantastic. That's not the same thing as being bright, brilliant, competent, any of those things. You may have those things together, but it doesn't make you any better as a person, as a human being. You just have military capability. And I agree with you. But I think from my point of view, we're already there. Like, the moment, it's one thing if I have a military advantage that I can affect and I can win. Meaning, yeah, I may lose people, but ultimately you win this conflict definitively. It's another thing when we are at a stage where we can end the world. Okay, well, there's no winning that. Like, I can't win that. We can launch nuclear wars. We can destroy the globe, but destroying the globe means that we lose. And so there's no way to actually win in that context. It's a very weird place to be in. Like, even in the First or the Second World War, okay, you had strong military capability, but you didn't have the ability in the world. We got it now. We have it now. So where that can go is terrifying. Where any country, even Israel, can say we're going to take our ball and go home, which means we're effectively going to destroy the globe if we can't maintain.
And it will be Israel. Let me tell you, of all the countries in the world that should not have access to nuclear weapons and that I think would be on the forefront of destroying the whole world, it is them. It is those psycho Zios. And, you know, what's so interesting, like Iran, they haven't invaded a country in like 200 years or something is what I heard. I don't know. Like
they haven't invaded. They had to fight Iraq, but that was it.
But the thing is, like, Iran, well, first of all, I've said it many times, they've never done anything to us. They've never done anything to us. They're like a 3,000 plus year old civilization. Leave them alone. They seriously, and we're so stupid. The amount of people here that think that they think it's all the same. They think they're all the same. Iraq, Iran, it's all the same. I'm thinking, yeah, they don't even speak the same language. They're not the same people. People think they're Arabs. They're not Arabs. They're Persians. And even if they were, not that matters, but that just shows the level of ignorance that we're dealing with. And they are not ignorant. That is why ultimately they will end up on top, the civilizations that have been here longer, because they're not ignorant. They know what we're doing. They're just watching us run around like a bunch of monkeys in a cage trying to entertain ourselves. And they're hopefully we don't blow the planet up in the process.
I do not have good feelings about Iranian leadership. I'll tell you, they may be an old civilization, but okay, no shade on the Ayatollah, because he's been right in saying you can't negotiate with Americans. These people are psychos, etc. The civilian leadership, less so. Like these reformist governments that are, you know, they can see a monster with blood dripping from him, walking through the valley, going from one country to the next. Syria, Iraq, what is the other one? Libya. Like, meaning you see a monster going through the countryside, murdering and killing as he goes through, just Frankenstein, just ripping people apart. And he comes to your door with blood on his fingers, knocking at the door. And you think to yourself, I think we can negotiate with that monster.
Right.
It's like, no, dude, you can't. You can't. It's like, I live here. I'm telling you, you can't. And they're like, nah, we think we can talk to them. And what happens? They get into these negotiations and people like me are like, dude, they are going to attack you. They are gearing up for the attack. And I would have people on this channel and they would say, well, rationally, Israel wouldn't do that. Why do you think that? Why do you think that? They said what they were going to do. There were policy documents about what they were going to do. Why do you think they say, well, rationally, they wouldn't do that? And then Israel attacks. And
but like, Israel's the most irrational. Israel's very existence is completely irrational. There's nothing rational about the existence of the state of Israel. It's based on this false sense of fear and security that was sold to the Jewish people. I mean, there is no sanity and rationality with the entire concept of Zionism. So why would we expect a completely irrational place based on irrational fear to act rationally?
Oh, I disagree with you on that one. Yes, I agree with you that they used the Holocaust. I mean,
they preyed on the fear. Yeah, they preyed on the fear. Yeah,
I agree with you 1,000%. One of my guests was talking about, because I was bringing up, I was like, Black people don't act that way. Like, you don't hear us talking about slavery or Jim Crow every opportunity that comes up. And he says those things are very different. And he was explaining to me how in Israel, they like take children to like the gas chambers and stuff. Like they beat it in them constantly as a drum to, you know, like any moment the Holocaust could happen again. Oh, look at what happened to you. And so you have this group of people who were effectively brainwashed.
Yes.
For the entirety of their childhood, growing up into a certain mindset. Because he was
yes, I was one of those. I was one of those people.
Were you?
Yes, I was raised Zio.
Interesting. How
I
did you
thought
break
you
out of
knew
that?
that. It took me years to deprogram. I was raised Zio, and what I was going to tell you is we teach Ashkenazi Jewish kids in the West. I can't speak about other Western countries, but here for
Yeah.
sure, what you're saying about that brainwashing, that happens here. That doesn't just happen in Israel. We are completely brainwashed to believe that if there is no Israel, Jews are not safe in the world.
Interesting. I mean, because the reason I say it is rational, because a lot of this stuff is just about power. Like, it's not about right or wrong. Like, they're not going after Iran for right or wrong reasons. It's just, we want to get rid of them because they exist. We want their resources. We want territory. We want control. It's just that. It's not about, are these guys are really making nukes? They don't give a shit about the nukes. That, like, Iran, for the last 20 years, from my point of view, they should have built those nukes. They should have had those nukes.
I don't see why it's our the nerve of us to tell any other country what they can and cannot have in their own country. Like the mere discussion that we seem to be able to have about whether or not Iran should or shouldn't have. Who the fuck are we? Like, I find that we're even having that discussion so unbelievably outrageous. And so does the rest of the world, by the way.
I told us that one day. I told us that one day. He said, like, who the hell are you? Or something like that. He didn't use hell because he's a religious figure, but he was like, who are you to tell us what we can do in our country? And I was like, you should say, who the fuck are you?
That's how I feel. I see it all the time. I don't understand how in the world can a bunch of American talking heads sit around and discuss what another sovereign nation should and shouldn't do and be allowed to do with any real sense of like credibility. And they sit there and discuss this like we have a valid say-so in the matter. And it's just, it's so gross. And this is why the whole world, I believe, hates us. It's that mentality. Like, are you, who are we?
It's not about right or wrong. It's just about power.
But I just mean in terms of the irrationality of the entire existence of the state of Israel from the perspective of American empire. Yeah, that's our arm. That's part of American empire. When we talk about the tail wagging the dog, if they can't exist without us, then we're the ones in charge. That's how I look at it. I don't care what anybody says. If you foot the bill, you're in charge. They couldn't be doing what they're doing without us. That makes us be in charge. But the concept of Israel in terms of how they built it, how they created it, how they perpetuate the mythology, all of that whole story that they teach. So it's not that different from our mythology in this country, but like the whole mythology is completely irrational. These are not rational actors. These are not reasonable people. The people in charge are psychopathic, but the people that are there are, for the most part, brainwashed, useful idiots. They have been so brainwashed from birth and fear-mongered that that's just their way of being. That's what I mean. Like, these people do not think rationally. Nothing about, and I'm talking about the main people, not the powers that be. The powers that be, I think you're right. They don't, they want greater Israel, and they don't really care. And they know that Iran is what stands between them and conquering the entire western part of Asia. So, but the people who thrive off of this idea of a Jewish state, those people, there's nothing remotely reasonable and rational about any of their mind, their thought process, their arguments, nothing. It is completely irrational.
But that's required. That's what I guess I disagree with the rationality argument. From my point of view, if you were trying to create this, fictional thing and come up with a justification for being able to kill, maim, create an apartheid state in a Muslim world, you need that. Meaning, how can I say this? You need a narrative, a story. You need to come up with a useful lie, or noble lie, as they call it. This is not noble in this case. In order to get all of these people to be able to justify murdering a huge number of other people, meaning you can't have Israel without that.
No, you need to manufacture the consent.
Yes, which they've done with the narrative of, hey, if you don't have Israel, you're going to die screaming, you're unsafe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I think you require it. That's why when you say it's not rational, it's required. There is a rationality around it, even though it's disgusting.
Right. No, but I mean, it's not based on truths. It's based on a fiction that all Arabs hate us and want to kill us. And that was the main thing that's taught to us as, Jewish
That was actually
Zios.
taught. I mean, that was the way it was explained. Like, Arabs are animals. Arabs hate you. Arabs, they would kill you if they get the opportunity. That was the way it was taught.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we're taught that. And so when you're taught that, you really believe that everything that's done to keep that secure and to keep the Arabs in check is ultimately for your protection. And it's this complete warped, and of course, looking at it now, it sounds absurd because I can see it now. It's absurd. But when they're in it, they really believe that Arabs hate Jews. They want to kill Jews, and that all they want to do is destroy the state of Israel, which, well, now that's probably true because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. But then again, I want to destroy the state of Israel. So, we're all kind of with you there. But no, like, and what's fascinating is the inherent racism in just saying that, because, and this is, I have such a pet peeve with the term Arabs because I don't know what they're talking about. And I always say, who's Arab? What does that mean? Who are you talking about? Do you mean they speak Arabic? Do you mean that they're brown? Do they have to be from certain countries strategically, like geographically, for you to think they're like, what does Arab mean? What the hell does that mean? Who are you talking about? Are you talking about Egyptians? Are you talking about Palestinians? Are you talking about Pakistanis who speak Arabic? I don't know what you're talking about. So that's the problem with Arab, is it's a white creation, I think, of creating an entire group of people that isn't even a group. Like, what is that? What does Arab mean? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how it's used. Like, if you're in some rando in Alabama, from him, everybody who is from the region is Arab, even if they're Persian.
And that they don't even know what the regions are. Like, they think Iranians are Arabs. They think
exactly.
Like, that's the thing. Like, what is an Arab? To what does that mean? Now, if they speak Arabic and you refer to them as Arabic peoples because they speak the Arabic language, that's fine. Okay, because you have a similar language, you speak a similar language. That's like saying people are English people if they speak English. Okay, like that's fine. But you don't just refer to everybody who speaks English as the Ings. The Ings, like everybody who speaks English. So everybody from all around the world who speaks English is one group of people because of their language. That's the same concept when you call people Arabs. I don't understand who you're talking about.
No, I get your point. I mean, I use the term, like, especially when I talk about the Arab leaders who just stand by.
We know who you're talking about. When you say that, we know that you're talking about this particular group of Arab leaders in their little kingdoms in that part of the country, in that part of the world, that we have basically controlled those leaders with different types of arrangements. We know who you're talking about when you say the Arab leader. I know, I can picture them in my head, but I mean, in terms of the people in those lands, what you can't, because somebody in Alabama might think that an Egyptian and an Iranian is the same thing.
They wouldn't know. Yeah. Oftentimes they probably wouldn't know, especially in America.
They have no idea. But yeah, I just find that somewhat derogatory. But that's also because I was taught that in a negative sense.
Let me ask you something. Were the Nazi youth victims?
Yeah. Wow. Absolutely. Well, and I have felt this way whenever I see children being indoctrinated in any way, really, like in any way that is extreme, where it would be like take over their life. Okay. So when I see the very Orthodox Jews raising their kids in those communities, it bothers me too, because you're essentially not giving that kid a choice. I mean, yeah, okay, legally, when a child turns 18, they might have a choice, but if you have done the indoctrination,
you've already programmed them. Yeah, they've already programmed them.
You have no choice. And so when I see any sort of indoctrination for children that puts you in a position where you don't make your own choices and question things, so it's just pure indoctrination, I do find that to be abusive. I think that from all different religious and cultural things, when I see children being so brainwashed, and it's the same with hardcore Christians. When I see kids brainwashed, so like when your entire existence is based on a brainwashing, then I feel like that's abusive. And they do not have a choice. You do not have a choice because your brain isn't even fully formed.
So are the state of Israel victims?
I think that
That's a hard one. That is
is.
a hard thing
Well,
for me to
here's
think,
the thing.
contemplate because
Well,
of
you've
what they're
got
doing.
two things. You've got post-Holocaust Jewish victims that in the creation of the state of Israel, that was a safe place for them and a home for them. So these are people that legitimately were victims of a Holocaust that then are now there and have reproduced and have also reproduced that trauma response, fear-based mindset, which by the way, it does affect our genetics. So now you've reproduced people that are actual from victim mentality first. That's the first group of people. Then you have people that are just raised there and so propagandized and brainwashed, like what I was just saying, that yes, you are a victim. If you are being indoctrinated from a young age when you don't have consent and you don't have a say-so, you are a victim of what you're of brain poison. Because that's what it is. It's poisoning the brain. Now, just because I believe they're victims does not mean I believe they don't have accountability for what's happening, right? Like both of those things can be true. I could think that you're a victim of a propagandized society and also recognize that you are now a perpetrator of that same violence. So both of the, just like we know that people who are abused become abusers. Just because we know that that might be the reason that you've become an abuser, it doesn't mean that you're not responsible for being the abuser.
Agreed. They know better. They know better. They
They
obviously
don't think Palestinians are people.
That's rough.
That's the
always
ultimate
rough
thing.
one to
They
me.
do
Yeah,
not
that's
see
rough.
them as people. And that's the brainwashing that has occurred from birth. And when you are trained from birth to see other people not as human, it's not as simple as you could just say treat others as you would want to be treated, because they don't see them as other people.
Yeah, when somebody else told me that, it shocked me. Because he was trying to get the point across to me, like, dude, you don't get it. Like, you're not in the headspace in the way that they are indoctrinated, where they're a
That's what I'm
kid,
telling you.
etc. And he says, the Black experience in America is not an allegory to, you're not, it's not like you go to school every day and you're showing pictures of white people treating you as slaves. It's not like, they're taking you to slave camps. It's not like you're like where your entire life and existence, this is being drilled into you, where it's just a fact of reality of, this is your worldview. This is your propagandized point of view that you've kind of accommodated. He says there is no allegory to it in the way that you look at the world.
No, which is why I think that when you look at Israelis now, like the people that are in that society now, it's worse than the Nazis to me. I find this infinitely worse than the Nazis for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is the Nazis, for the most part, they knew what they were doing wasn't right, because they did it, for the most part, tried to cover it up for the majority of time that they were doing it. This wasn't something that the whole world exactly knew what was going on, whereas these people are bragging about their own war crimes on the regular and putting it out there for the world to see. It wasn't like that with the Nazis. A lot of the people in Nazi Germany could have feasibly said, I didn't really know. That doesn't exist now. These people know exactly what's going on. They know that people are starving, and they're still going and having barbecues down by the barrier, by the gate, so that they can smell the food. Like, that kind of depravity is not something that I think really existed amongst general society in Germany while the Holocaust was going on. Um,
Yeah,
I think it was like that amongst most regular people.
yeah, this is a certain level of sadism that is going along with this. That is,
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. One last thing before I let you go, and thank you for that, because I think people, it's complicated. Yeah, it's evil in its truest, rawest form. But kids aren't born that way; they're made that way. And it's like, when you're digging into, hey, how did that kid become that way? Like, how did they get that sadistic in the way that they would dance around after murdering women and children, dance around their dress and think it's just funny and hilarious and everything else? Or you're watching starving people and you're taking shots at them, thinking it's funny that you're shooting and killing people. Like, you're intentionally putting massive numbers of people in pain and injury, and there is nothing in you where you consider it a human response. It's very strange, right? And so trying to explain to people and make that connection of this is how you build people like this, because you indoctrinate them with this idea that the other that they're killing are either not human beings or will do the same to you on a whim, when it's not true. It's just not true. And so, yeah, thank you for that. It's a great breakdown. I want to get into one last issue before I let you go. What time is it? Am I cool? Okay. ICE. Now, I am not in the States. And so the gravity of ICE, I don't feel it in the way that I think I would feel it if I was in the States. And seeing them, I mean, I see it on social media where they're knocking down doors, kidnapping people. They're coming up in like covering their face and everything else without disclosing who they are as they try to snatch people off the street. Some of those people are Americans, by the way. It sounds like the Trump has his own gang of I don't call them Nazis, but gang of
Gestapo. They're Gestapo.
Yeah, they're Gestapo agents that the president has at his leisure, that is just going through the country rounding people up. And to add to it, by the way, a brain drain. Like, one of America's strongest features was its ability to bring people from all around the world. Sure, you're going to get randos, but you're also going to hit the jackpot every so often and get people who are very bright, who are going to build businesses, companies, advance your technology, advance your science, industry, those type of things. Trump has effectively said, we're kicking all these people out and these people. We don't want these people in our country because we need people to do American jobs. And it's like, dude, are you out of your mind? Like, he's missing the strongest element of America in regards to immigration and the way that you're bringing, when you have people who want to come into the country and they're leaving their country, taking their brains with them and bringing it to America. That is to our benefit. He misses that.
Yeah.
Out of this, what I consider to be a racist intent, backing the logic that he's going with. And he's imbuing these ICE agents with the capability of enacting this racist agenda. Give me your take on this, because you mentioned this as something you wanted to discuss, and I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrifying. This is horrifying. This is the domestic parallel of the Holocaust, right? Like, we're rounding up people and putting them in camps. We're literally rounding up people and putting them in camps. And just to be very clear, whether or not somebody is a citizen is irrelevant to me. And this is something that I am so tired of this being a discussion like it's completely about immigration and immigration policy. That's a big part of it. We have to discuss the path to citizenship and what people, all of those things are worthy of a discussion. And we can have one of those things where reasonable people can disagree on what that looks like and whatever. That's one issue. The other problem, which is the main problem that is making me insane, is how we treat human beings. How we treat human beings is completely unrelated to whether or not they may or may not have done something illegal. It is completely unrelated to whether they may or may not be citizens of this country. Those are separate issues. So my concern is that I don't care whether you just climbed off of a boat or you've lived here for 80 years. You don't need to be treated this way. This is the problem. It's this complete dehumanization of people and treating people like cattle. And it's happening. What is happening in Gaza is going to be happening here. Because make no mistake, American empire is in its death throes, and the empire is angry. And it is going to do everything it can to keep everybody distracted as it siphons all the money to the top. And one of those things is keeping us punching down. And there's no better way to punch down than fear of immigrants. And this is something that we've used in this country for generations. I mean, the idea of Americans being anti-immigrant and creating laws against immigrants, that's nothing new. Right? Like this is nothing new. We are now seeing at this extreme level where people are being kidnapped by masked, unidentified people. And what I'm looking at, quite honestly, is I think we need to Black Panther this shit. I think that these people, we need to start forming armed communities that are protecting our own people legally. You know what I mean? You want to have all these legal to carry laws? Okay, fine. We'll be legal to carry. And we'll walk around carrying and protecting our own people. And then when identified masked agents come up and try to kidnap them, we're going to say, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to play this game. And that's where this is ultimately headed. And that's why I do think it's going to get infinitely more violent. But we are seeing Americans step up for their fellow people. We are seeing people literally putting their bodies on the line to keep people from being pulled out of their homes by the Gestapo. And what is happening also, I believe, not only is unconstitutional, because it is. I think a lot of what is happening, and there may not ever be accountability for it, but these people are being kidnapped. That's a crime. They're being kidnapped. They're being transported across borders. This is criminal. And this is a criminal enterprise. So as far as I'm concerned, anybody involved with the ICE thing, those people should be brought up on RICO charges at some point, because this is a criminal conspiracy that is like an organized crime ring that has taken over our country and is rounding up people and putting them in camps.
They're not going to do it.
And I know it because there's a profit motive. I know there's a profit motive. Stephen Miller, we know for a fact,
that guy's a Nazi.
Profit incentive.
That guy's a Nazi. The private prisons. Yeah, the private prisons. They make a shitload of money off this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and I'm tired of arguing with people about the immigration thing, because I am willing to say, all right, not everybody gets to be a citizen on day one. I mean, look, personally for me, I'm an open borders, live and let live. I don't care. Like, I think the whole nationalism thing is ridiculous, but I'm that person. But even with those, right? Like, why do we care if they want to come here? We're not giving them citizenship. They're not getting benefits. I know that ignorant people think that people just come here and just get benefits without having a social security number or any sort of resources, but that's just not true. But I don't understand. Like, if somebody wants to come across the border and go find a place to stay for the night or go live with somebody, I don't care. Why do we care who wants to come here versus who is a citizen? Which, okay, I understand. Like, we could have rules about that.
Right.
You know, but I just, why can't everyone just come? What's the big deal?
I am not an open border liberal, I will tell you. I think countries have borders for reasons. I let
everybody live and let live and kumbaya.
Look, if we had a world where everyone had healthcare, everyone had education, everyone had a stipend, everyone had then okay, fair enough, right? Like, you can make those agreements. That's not our world. Like, there are differences in countries. There are, I mean, even from the standpoint of work, I would prefer Americans have jobs. There are limited jobs. Like, there are, I have no issue with immigration as a rule. I have no issue with immigration, but countries should control their borders. I am one of those people. Now, I would probably disagree with a lot of Republicans, because in their minds, oh my God, they're criminals, they're taking our jobs, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think that's the way it works. Oftentimes, many of those immigrants who come into this country, they're making jobs. They're building, I think it's like 40% of the companies or something were created by immigrants. They have a higher capacity for making companies or whatnot. So I'm not against the immigration thing, but I do believe in borders. And I think I have to use jobs. I shouldn't have said jobs. That's probably not the best example.
But when somebody crosses the border that they're not supposed to be across, right? What's the proper cause of action? What's the proper response when somebody crosses a border that they're not supposed to be across, right? How do we then treat that person? Because to me, what we're talking about is when you say open borders, there's two things. There's the physicality of people literally coming into your country physically, okay? And that to me just doesn't matter as much, because quite honestly, we have enough space. We have plenty of space. The space isn't the issue, okay? So the real issue is then resources, right? Like, what resources? And that is something that could be overseen and controlled through whatever your citizenship process is. And in fact, it already is. I know people like to think that the immigrants just come here and get things, but that's just not how it works. Now, yes, if you're born here, you do get to go to school here.
Right.
But the idea But the idea of getting rid of birthright citizenship is insanity.
I think it's insane too. I think it's nonsense. Like, I think we miss the fact that we're an immigrant country.
Exactly.
And maybe it's our terminology where we're bumping heads on. When I say open borders, I mean, like, there's just no borders. Like, it's just anybody comes in.
And what would that look like?
But shouldn't we know who's coming into the country? Shouldn't we have some idea of like a census? Like,
Well,
how do
you
you have a
take your
country if you don't have a
census.
border?
You can do those things. Like, here's the thing. So let's say every 10 years you're doing your census. Well, only the people that have addresses. So it has to be somebody who has an address. That's who you're counting. I mean, that's always the way it's going to be. But why can't you do that with people coming and going? Like,
What's wrong with having an immigration system? That's
there's
the part
nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't understand why. Like, are you worried that is it because people will come here and get benefits that other people should have and that we're going to take away from them? Like it's a pie. And if we give some to these people, then there'll be less for us. I guess
So
I'm just not
American?
understanding what the basis of the concern is.
So are they Americans when they come into the country? Like, meaning I'm born here, I have a social security number.
Yes.
Et cetera. I have certain rights. The government has certain laws that protect me, et cetera.
Yeah.
Rando from, I don't know, Uganda. I don't know. I'm just picking a place.
Right.
Shows up in America.
Okay.
All right. Does that person get benefits? Is that person
that
American?
person has
When
to
does the person
then
become an American?
No, I think it's okay to have a certain amount of requirements to become a citizen and get benefits. So that person has to live there for X amount of time and have an address or whatever your requirements are to be able to get benefits from. And like it would be if you move from one state to another. If you move from one state to another, you have to live there before you can get state benefits. You have to have a state address.
So what if half of Mexico decides to come to America? Is that also okay?
It doesn't bother me. That's the thing. First of all, I don't think they'd want to, but
of Mexico moving to America.
Let me tell you this, if there's space and resources, which I believe that we do have, the myth that it's a pie is not real, then I really don't mind. Geographically speaking, this country has plenty of space. We do. Mm-hmm. There's so much unlived, untouched space in this country. You wouldn't know it because everyone wants to pile in the same places. Right. But the truth is there is enough space here. As far as resources and benefits, again, I'm willing to discuss those things. I just don't see what difference it makes because it's not a pie. They want us fighting over a pie, but it isn't a pie. That's not how it works.
Yeah, I disagree. Like, meaning, I don't take issue with the immigration thing. Countries have borders.
I know because we're taught that. But these are fictional, made-up places that never existed.
Right. You could totally. Well, yeah, it's a legal fiction. I agree.
Look what we did to Afghanistan. We did those. The problem is this. This is my biggest problem with borders. Okay, and again, this comes back to the Caucassity thing. Okay, is that more than 40% of the world's borders were created by Britain and France.
No, I agree.
So that's the problem with borders is that they're such a fiction. If we actually had borders that were really representative of cultures and populations, and in some cases it's better than others. Like some cases you have more of a, like Japan. They're all Japanese in Japan. Like, I mean, that you've got certain borders that are clear, but like Afghanistan was never meant to be a country. That's not a country. That's a whole bunch of different tribal kingdoms that we put together and said, okay, now you're a country. That's not how this is supposed to work.
So Jews moving into Palestine, would you still say that?
If who?
The Jews moving into Palestine.
I don't mind there being tons of Jews in Palestine. There could be tons of Jews in Palestine. I have no problem with the Jews moving into Palestine during the early Zio period. And neither did the Muslims. The Muslims and the Palestinians didn't care, by the way, either. That wasn't the problem.
Agreed. And just to be clear, Jews, Muslims live together forever.
Oh,
like meaning this idea.
So let's talk about, we're talking white Western Jews. Okay.
Yes.
Because the Palestinian Jews, they've always been there, right? We're talking about white Western Jews. I don't care with people moving wherever they're going to move, but it still needs to be run in a democratically based way. So meaning that it can't be an ethno state because it would have to represent the bulk of the people there.
Yeah, there's the rub. Okay, I feel you. And just be clear, when we were talking about Semitic, Palestinians are Semitic. Like they're literally Semitic. These groups
and
live
I'm
there
not.
together.
I'm not a Semite, which is why when you see all these white people playing the anti-Semitism card, I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, so where's the Semite? I don't see any Semites here. Who the hell are you to tell me? Bunch of white people telling me I'm anti-Semitic when they don't even know a Semite. You've not met a Semite, but yet you're telling me I'm anti-Semite. I actually like the Semites.
Jen, I agree with you on the way we treat immigrants.
Yes.
I agree with you on this notion of ICE being this kind of Gestapo force that seems to be above the law in the way that they operate. I mean, it's just outrageous, some of the scenes that I've seen. I think we end that when we get to open borders. Maybe, look, I could be indoctrinated.
Because you can't envision it. You can't.
No, I can't envision it.
You cannot see what I see in the global world. But even if there's, okay, so let's go back to the idea of just, okay, fine, we have borders. I'm okay with that. We have borders. But just because we have a border doesn't mean because someone steps over it, I get to put them in a detention center.
Yeah. But see, the moment that you have borders, what do you do when a person comes over? It becomes another problem.
Okay, so you do what we did before we had borders like this in this country. We didn't have a wall. Like, how did we exist before walls? How did we exist before ICE? But we did. What did we do? People come here. They fill out some paperwork. They have to get a social security, whatever the process is to become an American. Yes, that needs to be put in place. I don't think people should come here and just be able to go get food stamps day one. All right. I don't think that that's what we should be doing here. But I think whatever that process is, it needs to be the same for everybody. There needs to be two ways to become citizens in this country. One is for people that are seeking asylum and that are in an emergency situation. And that should be for whatever it is, whatever your situation is. And two, people that just want to come here. And those two groups of people, emergency asylum seekers and just people that want to come here, those are the two categories. And we have whatever our system is for those people to get the benefits. And none of that needs to include rounding people up and putting them in cages. That's my point.
You also realize, though, if you don't have borders, you don't have a designation of where your country ends, which means America can continue to expand into Mexico, or America continue to expand into Canada.
Right. Now, for that reason,
that's what Israel does. By the way, where Israel's like, yeah, we're not going to find a border.
But why can't you have borders, but there doesn't need to be a wall there?
Oh, I see.
You can have your country's borders, but that doesn't mean if I'm down in Mexico and I walk across the border because I'm walking there, so what? Now, if I walk over to your Social Security office and I try to get benefits without a Social Security card, then I can see that might be a problem. But why does me stepping over a fictional line matter? I'm just standing here.
What if I had universal health care? Do you still see it the same way?
Yeah, but you should still be there for healthcare. Yes, and I'll tell you why I see it that way, because every other country that has universal health care has it that way. My dad was in France a few months ago, had a total health episode, a total incident, and it was completely handled for free.
But that's a random episode.
Yes.
That's not a concerted effort. That's not like 50,000 Americans deciding, let's go to Canada to get free health care.
But we don't have free health care, first of all. And yes, I think if we did, then that still needs to be, you need to have rules about how it gets, how people get access to things, how the resources are allocated. You need to have an organizational structure. So imagine, for example, what's happening in Gaza right now with the humanitarian foundation that's basically mercenaries killing people, okay? Right. That's one way of supposedly distributing food, is rounding up people in cages and killing them. However, if you had UNRWA and the other groups doing it, it wouldn't look that way. You would actually be able to be giving aid and support and resources and help to mass amounts of people without death and destruction taking place. So why wouldn't we be able to have that same concept here? If you have the resources and you have the will and you have, this idea that everybody deserves dignity, then there's no reason to not facilitate that. And that's what pisses me off. We have the capability.
Agreed. No, on that, I agree with you. Look, the moment that you make machines, you can produce what you need to produce. We make a choice.
Yeah.
For scarcity. No, I agree with you. It's just we have different political or governmental systems. Canada, for example, Canada at some point is going to be like, whoa, these effing Americans are using up our resources and we're trying to have universal health care. It damages the capability of Canada to do it without them, us having something similar.
Which is why we should just have global universal health care. And
Agreed.
when you have global single payer universal health care for everybody, then it doesn't matter what country anybody's in, and nobody's going to come scam your health care.
Agreed. I will tell you, and I can end on this. I was in Egypt, and I had to get treatments while I was in Egypt. And one of the Egyptians there, I didn't even realize the guy was German. He was apparently German. He offers me a cigarette. Him and I are smoking in the clinic, because apparently you can do that in Cairo. And he says, how much are you paying for this? And I tell him, and he's like, my government pays for this. So anywhere he needs to go in the world, Germany would pay for his healthcare, as just him being German. And by definition, of him being German, he gets healthcare anywhere he goes. I was like, you motherfucker.
Exactly.
You motherfucker. Jen,
I
have enjoyed this.
I think everybody wants to come here. I don't know why anybody wants to come here.
Well, America's better than some. Worse than others.
Yes, better, especially than the countries we've destabilized, right? I mean, and we know that's a big part of it. But, I think people have delusions about this country that are just, if you are not exceptionally rich, don't come here. Yeah.
Jen, I've enjoyed this conversation. I always enjoy it when you come on. That's why I'm glad you accepted it, because I know
always, even though let's stick with the 9 o'clock hour, none of this 8 o'clock in the morning.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It's funny. I gotten so accustomed to doing my show in the mornings that it's like you wake up at 4, you get prepared and everything else. Your show goes on. Who
wakes up at 4? You wake up at 4? No, nobody No, I do not wake up at 4.
Your show goes on at night. And so at the time your show is going on, I am winding down, but you're winding up for your show. It's just a weird thing. Yeah. Here, it's different. It's the opposite. And it is worse. And I know some people think, hey, man, doing the show at night is easy. It's not. I do my show. I really started around 3 when I started really thinking about, okay, what are you going to talk about? What are you going to talk about? And then around 7.
When did you sleep? If you're up at 3... that's the issue. That's the middle of the night.
Harder. That's why it's harder here. Because I start around 3 p.m. The show starts at 7, but I'm always conflicted on what to do. And so I have this hard time for those 2 or 3 hours of figuring out, okay, what are you going to talk about for the show? What are you going to talk about? What are you going to talk about? It ends at 10. So we are at 10:16. All right. It ends usually now. I may talk to the audience for a bit. So let's say 10:30, 10:45.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, now I need to cut my videos. Cutting the videos takes a while because I have to think of titles and everything else. So by 3, 4 a.m., that's when I'm finishing up. And then you sleep for a few hours and then you repeat the process. That is harder than getting up at, let's say, 4 or 5 a.m., doing the show. You finish cutting videos by 4 p.m. and then you go into your day. Yeah, the schedule is harder. Yeah, the schedule is harder.
Because you do all your own editing and stuff.
Yeah, I don't have producers. I don't have,
Yeah.
I need to get a producer.
I just have to show up and look pretty.
Really? Oh, so you have producers and all that helps out with that stuff?
I wouldn't say we have producers, but we do have someone that helps us, and for very, very little, because he just helps us. And he also has another job. We share a producer with Status Quo.
Oh, Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay.
We share Colin, who I've known through Jordan for years, and he's just such a good guy. And it's really a labor of love. But he does our clips for us and does our stuff for us and runs our show behind the scenes for us. And we're very fortunate. I throw a few bucks at him, but we don't make we just had our first month of having anything where I could actually make a payroll if I had one.
Badass. Yeah, my ex wanted to be my producer. I didn't trust her. Oh.
That's a sign, Jamarl. That's a sign.
Well, there are things that have happened in the past with her that created a massive amount of distrust, where I'm like, yeah, I appreciate that. But no. But it would have helped because, I have to trust that the person does the headlines right or the titles right. I have to trust that they put the right.
Well, and now Peter does that. Peter does generally all of our titles and content stuff, and he'll often forward to Colin and be like, here's the timestamps, this is what I want. So
really?
It's sort of a joint effort.
Oh, that makes it so much easier.
I know.
It makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
Jen, I guess I'm a hard ass.
Always fun, Jamarl. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for joining me. You have a good one, okay? You be safe.
You too. Bye, hon.
All righty. Jen Perelman. Oh, just to give her bio, Jen Perelman is an attorney, activist, two-time grassroots congressional candidate. Jen is host of Revolutionary Change. It used to be Generational Change, but she's got a hard ass podcast. She's on YouTube. And check her out. Her show is very good. They invite me on their show every so often. The schedule is much better now for me to go on that show because for me it's 8 a.m. I can do 8 a.m. She's cool people. She really is. She really is. I really appreciate her. All right. We have come to the end. We have come to the end.